It's written about how we interact, how we communicate, what we're communicating, when we love each other, why we love each other, sometimes why we don't. Right? But the song is originally conceived after me thinking about my grandfather's life and something that I experienced with him as a young boy. So my grandfather's a guy that in New Orleans is the only man to be a chieftain of 4 different clans of black Indians, or Afro-Native Americans. So his name is Donald Harrison Sr., but he goes by Big Chief Donald Harrison Sr. when he was here. And some people called him the Uptown Ruler, and other people called him Chief of Chiefs for one moment. Now, when I was a little boy, there was something that he would do every few weeks that was really strange and peculiar to me. He would come into our homes and he would take all of the food out of the house. And as a small person, you're seeing that, you don't understand it, but you don't know that that's strange until you get a little older. So it took me about 8 years to muster up the courage to ask him why he was doing that. And what I learned in that day changed my life. He made me fill the bag up and go all around the neighborhood picking up food from all of the people that could spare food. And he made me drag this bag, which is the heaviest bag that I've ever dragged in my entire life, about 5 or 6 blocks to a corner called Desire and Galvez in New Orleans in the 9th Ward. And what I saw there, I saw elderly people leaving their homes and start to line up. And he started to hand the food out to them. I saw elderly people that no one cared about. No one cared if they bathed, no one cared if they ate, no one cared. After this moment, I realized he was rationing the food off to the community, and then after the elderly people, then the small children started to come. Little boys, 6 years old, 5 years old, that were responsible for feeding their families, feeding their siblings. I saw full families out there, husbands and wives, that the husband may have 2 jobs, the wife may have 2 jobs, but they still don't have enough money to feed their kids, right? A lot of times we don't talk about how expensive it is to be poor, right? Now, obviously, when people are going through a moment like that, you see a myriad of different micro expressions. Some people were so hungry that they didn't care what anyone else thought. Some people you could see were ashamed. Some people were elated and happy because they were finally eating. He emptied the bag out, filled the bag up, walked through the next neighborhood collecting stuff, and then walked to the next neighborhood and gave the food away again. And then again, and then again, and again, and again. This went on all day. When we got home that night, I'm exhausted, my body is hurting, I've been carrying this bag, it's the weight of the moment. And I asked him, why wasn't this something the president did? Or why wasn't it something the governor or the mayor did? Why was he doing it? And he got upset with me, he got very angry. And he said 2 things to me. He said that you don't build tribes. This is a man that, like I said, he led 4 banners in his lifetime. You don't build communities, cities, municipalities, provinces, states, countries, nations, worlds with hate. And that if you build in this manner, it always has to feed on something. Hate always has to feed. And it's much better to try and start to build with a sense of welcome and love. The second thing that he told me was that when you see something with your eyes, if you see someone enduring hunger, or you see someone being treated as a second-class citizen or being accosted or berated because they are a woman, or because they are black, or because they are Muslim, any of these things, or because they're gay, then you saw that moment for a reason. You saw it in a moment where you could either choose to do something or you could choose to stand by and let that be the energy that you all are welcoming, right? That we are all welcoming in that moment. I don't know. Please, you can hold it. I don't know what the political landscape, the social landscape, or cultural landscapes are like here now. I do not live here, and I'm not here to condemn anyone for anything. This is a conversation about love. But I know where I am from in America now, we have allowed our political, social, and cultural spaces to become flooded, inundated, filled with people that have highly bigoted and hateful views. People that are willing to say anything, don't care about the consequences, will do anything to take resources away from people. We are actually having a fight to keep healthcare right now, right? I live in a country where if a woman and a man does the same job, a woman gets paid less than a man. Is this the case here? Right, so can I ask a question? How often do you see groups of men talking about that? Now here's part of the idea that we're trying to communicate here. And this, remember, this is not a hate conversation, it's a love conversation. Now, please. The idea seems to translate a little bit, but in America, if we disagree this much, it means we completely disagree. So if your issue is immigration, you don't care about what happens in Black Lives Matter. If your issue is Black Lives Matter, you don't care about what's going on in terms of gender equality. If you're dealing with that, maybe you don't care about what's going on in immigration again, and so on and so forth, right? But if you look closely at these cultures, they are all fighting for equality, and the tenets of what they're saying are always the same. But because we disagree a little bit, we completely disagree. Now, we mentioned before, you guys, we also live in a country where women get paid less than men. I'm sure if you sat down and talked to most men, they think that's absurd. You know, you meet a nice guy, he's nice, you're going on a date and you're walking in a dark alley and it's dangerous, and he's, I'll protect you. Right? Do you guys know these guys? Right? You can say yes, ladies, it's okay. Do you guys know this guy? I mean, listen, we know where we are right now. We know it's a bunch of strong motherfuckers here, don't lie to us. We get it. The point is maybe she doesn't need you to do that. Maybe she needs you to fight so that she can feed your children best, right? Or maybe she needs you to fight so she can have her dreams, right? So the idea, what you're going to hear right now is about a profound opportunity that as a generation we have, and I think that we should covet. This actually can be the first generation in the history of what we know of the world that goes about the business of eradicating all of these old ideas that we've seen cause so much hurt and pain, right? Two things need to happen. The first thing is that we have to reevaluate what we think power is. And I say that in spaces like these and when I go to America for a reason, because for some reason there's like this argument that everyone is pulling and jockeying for power, and I think most people are actually concerned, more people are concerned with equality than power. Secondly, if we went about the business of trying to communicate the sameness between us, as opposed to always looking for the differences, then I think we will find that most people have really great, beautiful, and open hearts. So what you're going to hear comes from my most sacred moment. It comes from the moment where, like I said, my grandfather was a chief, my uncle has been chief, I just became chief this year, and I'm learning a lot, and I don't think I'm doing a good job yet. But part of what I'm learning is that if in this moment musically, I can be that open and vulnerable to you, to show you my most sacred space, the space where I see my father's hands, the space where I see my mother's eyes, What you're going to hear comes from when the tribes in Albuquerque, New Mexico, the gathering of nations of all of the Indian nations, meet each other, where the chieftain meet the little braves. We play this to you so that hopefully you can see our hearts and our humanity and how open and vulnerable we are willing to be with you, and then in turn also be that open and vulnerable and loving with us and each other, so that when we leave here, we leave this place better than we got here. All right? Thank you. This one is called The Last Chieftain.